Ashes from the past. With those who come up to the lake, some of them have a family connection with the area. Some of these families can trace this connection back to their great-grandparents. However, such a pedigree isn't absolutely necessary to create such a connection. It can be as recent as some parents bringing their kids up for the summer, which becomes a regular thing. With one of the families that has been coming up to the lake for generations, it led them to bring up the ashes of their grandparents in order for them to spread them at the lake. When it came time for the ashes to be spread, they did so at the hillside found next to the cabin. The spreading of the ashes of both grandparents didn't occur at the same time, however, but was separated by a few years. But once the ashes of both grandparents were spread over the hillside, something unusual began to happen. With the ashes of both grandparents now located upon the hillside, sightings began to occur. When these sightings happened, they all centered around the hillside. At first, these sightings were nothing more than phantom lights. But after enough time had gone by, they took on more definite shapes which culminated in them taking on fully human form. Whenever these phantoms materialized, they would always roam about the area where their ashes were spread. And when the phantoms were first spotted, they were seen by strangers passing through the area. The owners of the cabin didn't encounter the phantoms until some time later. Any story that they might have heard about the phantoms before their first encounter were just dismissed out of hand. It wasn't until one of the members of the younger generation who fell asleep in the hammock that the family finally encountered the phantoms. When he fell asleep in the hammock, it was already night and was only woken up by the persisting cold that occurs in the mountains. Once awake, he looked around the area and saw a human shape standing not too far away from him. At first, he thought that it was a trespasser looking for trouble. But not long after spotting the figure, it disappeared, much like a cube of sugar dissolving in water. After it disappeared, the young man got to his feet and made his way to the location where he saw the phantom. Not seeing anything that could explain what he saw, his first thought was that he just imagined it, or that it was a part of a waking dream. Regardless of the cause, he decides that now would be a good time to go back inside. But as time progressed, as it always does, occurrences like this one increased in frequency. The most notable event to occur to date was when a group of friends were staying at the cabin and were sitting around the mission pot and enjoying a fire. As the friends were talking amongst themselves, creating s'mores, and having a good time, they saw a figure appear from the lip of the hill and approach the fire. The family member that was present recognized the figure as being his grandfather. Seeing Grandpa materialize, the group stopped whatever they were doing and looked at the phantom. What Grandpa did was approach the fire as if it was the most natural thing in the world and put his hands over the fire. This lasted for a few seconds before the phantom disappeared. After he disappeared, all of the friends sat there in stunned stupidity. As this was occurring, one of them eventually spotted the second phantom peering out at them from the hillside. This second phantom was none other than Grandma. Once realizing that it was spotted, the second phantom disappeared behind the hillside. And such appearances didn't always occur at night. There have been occasions where the phantoms were seen during the day, though not as frequently. One such example occurred when the mission pot was being cleaned out with a garden hose, and the spray came across the form of one of the phantoms. The phantom didn't fully materialize, and its presence was only known by the splash of the water, and it didn't stay long. It just stayed long enough to make its presence known. Eventually, such things became a normal occurrence around the cabin. It eventually reached the point where the family thought nothing of it. They were nothing more than just Grandma and Grandpa checking in on things. It's only with the occasional stranger that witnesses one or both of the phantoms that things become a concern and panic occurs, resulting in the occasional situation. But the family just goes on with their lives as if it was nothing at all. For them, the phantoms are just ashes from the past.